Angel in Disguise by T.S. Arthur. T.S. Arthur was a popular 19th century American writer. His stories, written with compassion and sensitivity, articulate and spread values and ideas that were associated with respectable middle class life in America. Now, in his story, An Angel in Disguise, T.S. Arthur describes the transformative and restorative power of selfless love. It relates the arrival of Maggie, a thin young orphan, into the lives of wheelwright Joe Thompson and his vinegar-tempered wife, Jane, and the miraculous effect that the child's presence has on the woman's character and the happiness that she brings to her adopted family. The story in detail. A poor woman who was hated by nearly everyone in a village died of intoxication right in front of her 3 children, John, Kate, and Maggie. Despite the hatred for the woman, everybody in the village pitied the children. John, the oldest, a boy of 12, was adopted by a farmer whose name was Jones. Kate, a girl between 10 and 11, was taken in by Mrs. Ellis, who was looking for a maid. But the dead woman's 3rd child, Maggie, who had injured her spine 2 years ago and was crippled for life, was not wanted by anyone. The ladies in the neighborhood brought discarded clothes and dressed Maggie in clean clothes. Maggie's innocent looks attracted everybody, but no one dared to take her in. After a discussion, it was decided that Maggie should be sent to the poorhouse where she would be kept clean, provided with healthy food, and given medical treatment. The next day, after the burial of their mother, John and Kate were taken away by the new families, and poor little Maggie was left alone. When Maggie saw Mr. Thompson, she begged him not to leave her there all alone. Joe, a kind-hearted man who loved children, wrapped Maggie gently in clean bedclothes and took her home. As Joe held Maggie close to his chest, he formed a bond of affection with her. When confronted by his short-tempered wife, Joe told her that he was just letting her stay at their house for the night and he would talk to the guardians of the poorhouse the next day. Joe talked to his wife and told her how Jesus rebuked his disciples who did not help the little children and how he himself took up the children in his arms and blessed them. Though Jane did not answer, she thought that Joe had a soft corner for Maggie. She went to the little chamber where Maggie was and talked to her. Gradually, she developed affection and love for Maggie. She began to feel motherly affection for her as she had no children of her own. Days passed and Jane did not utter a word about sending Maggie to the poorhouse. Finally, Joe and Jane decided to keep Maggie with them as their child. This brought love and happiness in the life of the childless couple. They felt as if an angel had come into their house in the form of Maggie and filled their lives with the sunshine of love. Now, we have to look at the story from a different perspective too. So here, we all know that the story ends with the writer bestowing the status of an angel on Maggie, who had come into Joe Thompson's house disguised as a sick, helpless, and miserable child who filled all its dreary chambers with the sunshine of love. Though this has been directly stated for Maggie, but as avid readers, we should look deeper. Not only Maggie proved to be an angel for the childless couple, but Joe Thompson also proved to be no less than an angel for her. Maggie, a bedridden child, had lost not only her mother but also her siblings. Nobody in the village agreed to take in Maggie since she could be of no use to them. It is even suggested that she should be taken to the poorhouse because nobody would want to take care of her, the one and wasted form. Maggie was left all alone, and it was Angel like Joe Thompson who felt it to be a cruel gesture. The writer has presented Joe Thompson with angel like qualities. He was a man with a tender heart who liked and loved children. He also mentioned the teachings of the Bible to his wife to be kind enough to let Maggie stay with them for a single night. Joe Thompson took in Maggie out of sheer concern and affection, looked after her, and provided her with food, shelter, and love. Maggie, who had been attributed as an angel in disguise by the writer, met an unexpected happy life through him. The orphan, sick, bedridden child not only got food and shelter, but also parent-like figures. Thus, Joe Thompson can undoubtedly be seen as an angel of God who made Maggie's life worth living. Now let us look at the themes of the story. The first theme is selfishness versus selflessness. Selfishness versus selflessness is one of the main themes of the story. Farmer Jones and Mrs. Ellis depict selfishness, and Joe Thompson depicts selflessness. The mother of 3 children, John, Kate, and Maggie, dies, and Farmer Jones and Mrs. Ellis take in John and Kate for their selfish reasons. Farmer Jones takes in John to look after his farm, whereas Mrs. Ellis takes in Kate as a maid. Nobody in the village agrees to take in the invalid Maggie. One of the villagers suggests that she should be taken to the poorhouse, but Mr. Thompson, out of compassion, takes Maggie home along with him. Mr. Thompson's selflessness is thus reflected when he does not leave Maggie alone, but bears the precious burden home and faces his wife's anger. The next theme is love as redeemer. The story portrays the redeeming power of love through the character of Mrs. Thompson. Joe Thompson's wife is hard-hearted at the beginning of the story. She scorns at her husband for bringing the invalid child home, but she is transformed at the end. It appears as if the woman had turned bitter earlier because of being childless, but as soon as the love of a child touches her, she is transformed. Mrs. Thompson gets angry with her husband for bringing home the sick brat and inquires from him the reason for not taking Maggie to the poorhouse. But Joe knows what his wife secretly craves for and therefore leaves her alone with the child. While coming back from work, a light shining through the little chamber window was the first object that attracted Joe's attention, as it was a good omen. Earlier, there was anger in his wife's speech, but when Joe asks for supper, there is no asperity in her voice. The love for the child has changed her. She no longer wishes to send away the child to the poorhouse, but wants to take care of her as a mother. Mrs. Thompson, by the end, is not an irritable, ill-tempered, and self-afflicting woman, but a loving, mother-like figure. The love of the angel in disguise thus redeems her.